Hello, everyone. I am here. I am Tim. Let me see if I can do something about the lighting. Let me see if I can do something about the lighting. It's a lot of bootleg stuff around here. I understand, but I'm doing the best with what I have. Okay, I had a video up about socialism, and someone made some kind of crazy comments, and so I took it off, made it private, put the video on my one of my other platforms where you can see it. I'm not here to argue or debate. That's meaningless. I'm just here to share information. Now, if you disagree, that's fine. We can go back and forth. I don't mind. We trying to get to some kind of larger truth or some kind of understanding, a deeper connection to reality. But all this debating and all this silly, stupid stuff on podcasts and things like that is ridiculous. We all know what the realities are, and I want to deal in the root of things. And anything up here in the middle or on the surface isn't really that important. People are suffering. People are dying. I heard from my sister down south, one of our friends, nice elderly lady, down the street from her, very nice to me when I was there, passed away. Got sick, and my sister was telling me the story of the lady and the family. Because anytime there's property, I don't know about other ethnic groups, but it seems like with black folks, when there's property, it just becomes outrageous. And so I mean, there's real things going on. Like, you know my story. I just recently got some stable housing, and it's a voucher system, and I'm walking around and there's people nodding out. I just came back from Manhattan today, checking my mail because I have to keep a P.O. box because I don't make enough doing these things and on the other platforms to pay for the steady housing. So I have to keep some kind of address. So I checked my mail, and on 34th Street in Manhattan, it's just nodding off. Homeless people just down and out, and it's real serious stuff. So debating is ridiculous. We're past that point. We're either going to do something about the suffering, and we're going to learn more so we can focus and put forth some actions, small scale, large scale, whichever way you want, rooted conceptual actions that stop the suffering or not. I'm going back to my book, Dictionary of Theories, and this is always one. I'm going to deal with abandonment. And this is very important because a lot of us have been abandoned. And I'm here, this video is to say, don't abandon us. And I'm going to give you a few reasons why, or at least 2 reasons why you shouldn't abandon us. Okay, abandonment. 20th century philosophy, concept central to atheistic existentialism. According to such existentialists, as Sartre, God does not exist and life therefore has no intrinsic purpose or meaning. Man has been abandoned in the universe and must create his own morality and code of values without the assistance of any divine being. Now, if you believe in God, fine. If you believe that God is just energy, fine. If you believe in just the energy of humanity, fine. But either way you believe, a lot of us, a lot of people out here feel like, and rightfully so, that they have been abandoned. Not only have they been abandoned by any force beyond ourselves, because it just seems like justice is gone. It can't function in this place. There's so much injustice, so much indifference, that we've been abandoned. We also feel like we've been abandoned by human institutions and systems. Not as a black person, I was always under the gun of those things, always being brutalized by those things. But I will say, they had to keep me around to brutalize me. They had to keep us around to brutalize us. Even that's gone. I'm glad that part is gone, by the way. Don't misunderstand. I'm glad that those systems and institutions are done. But there's nothing been put in their place. And I'm here to tell you, don't abandon us. Why the haves, the top 40% of the society, shouldn't abandon the bottom 60%. And one reason is because you don't know what talents we have. You're abandoning some really good minds. I'm one of them, I know. You're abandoning some really good people. People who know how to do fairness, who know how to do justice. You're abandoning us. And eventually, people like us who live in this world, see how old I look. I'm only 52. But I look much older because it's going to grind me down. And I already know my days are short, but I'm fine with it. That's why I'm trying to put out as much information as I can before I go. Leave it on these platforms before I go. And I've left all the information on how to get to these platforms and how to get at whatever little pennies they bring in and how to control and publish the information. That's why I incorporated to have all of this information under one entity, one corporation. I have my paperwork right. It grinds us down, and I know that that's going to happen. But there's so many opportunities where people could have listened to me, worked with me, and done better than they're doing. There's so many problems that could have been solved if some of us who have been abandoned had been let in rooms where decisions were being made. And we were always looked down upon, always pushed aside, always looked at as strange, always looked at as, you don't know what you're talking about. I think that changed a lot in 2020 when people saw reality, really what this society was. I have an elder that says everybody was exposed in 2020, and he was right. We don't get as ignored as we were, but we're still they're thinking about abandoning us, again, because you don't want to do certain things conceptually, and so the problems seem unsolvable. And that might be another video for another time. I was in the shelter with men, and I'm going to tell you, and there were women downstairs on the first floor. Some of these men were sociopaths. Some of them had just given up, and that's what happens when they're abandoned. Some of us were really bright men, but we were just trapped in this situation, not being used. I've had some conversations in that shelter, and I'm telling you, 2-3 hour conversations about politics, about social issues, about all of these things. And none of us should have been in there. We all knew that. But when you abandon people wholesale, you're losing good minds, right? That's one reason you shouldn't abandon us. But no reason you shouldn't abandon us if that doesn't appeal to you. If you say, so what? We have good minds elsewhere. So what if we lose a bunch of good minds? You have the sociopaths, the bitterness, the embittered. And these are the people pushing people on the subway tracks, punching people in the face, cutting people in the subway. These people are going to grow in number. And if it hits a certain tipping point, a certain number of them, you're not going to be able to take control of your cities and your towns again. And you can hide behind a wall. You can hide behind the inside of a big skyscraper and probably live there for years. Stock your bunkers with food. Go to an island, live on a yacht, whatever you want to do. If you have that kind of money, you can buy yourself out of this thing. But once we get a hold and take control of the larger areas of cities and towns, you're not going to get control of those things back. And if you don't mind that, that's fine. You can live in your little enclave forever and ever, amen, and your children and everything else. Because once you withdraw to those things and leave the rest of the society to us, we're going to take over it. So you're not going to collect any rents. Forget that. That's over. And that's over. That's done. Any buildings that you own out here, you're going to be giving up. You're not going to run any businesses out here. Forget that. That's over. That's done with. No restaurants, no stores, no retail, no nothing. You're not going to have any plays, sports, or any of that stuff out here. You can forget that. You're not going to control that. That's over. You can forget that. So all the things that you enjoy, the top 40%, if you abandon us, and remember, it doesn't take the whole bottom 60% to become embittered and angry. Just a small fraction, because the rest of us are going to stand aside because we have been abandoned. Why would we do anything? Why would we help the people who abandoned us? You see, this is the danger that you're not thinking about. You're thinking, I just don't want to deal with it. The problem's too big. You're thinking, they got issues, let them die. You're thinking, we know we got to deal with it, but let's let some of them die off first. You're thinking, they don't really want to, this little game you play, they don't really want to do anything with their lives, so let them go. And I'm telling you, you can play all of those little games, but there's going to be a problem. You're going to end up suffering as much as we do. Because at the end of the day, remember, we don't have much of anything to lose. When we die, we're in a peaceful place, in a better place, problem solved, right? But there's so many of us that as we die and go to peace, and especially those of us who are not sociopaths, those of us who are not overrun with our bitterness, that's just going to mean there's more bitter people. There's nothing between the bitter people and you, right? Like I said, not that we would help them, but we wouldn't get in their way. Now you're going to have more people just embittered. You see what I'm saying? Because the more of us watch the people around us dying when we know they shouldn't die, they're going to join that bitter group. And you must be careful about abandoning us. You must be careful about that. Unless you're just ready for the whole thing to collapse. I don't think most of you are. I think most of you are just not thinking about it. But you need to think about it. And I will just say that. Don't abandon us. Don't leave us behind. Now, whether we feel abandoned by a deity or a higher force, that's us. But the lack of basic stability is making us feel like, hey, all these institutions are just dogging us. And nothing's stopping them from doing it. Which also leads to either we just don't care anymore, which is going to lead to more pathological behavior, or we need to stop it, remember, when the definition is an atheistic term, that abandonment, that we've been abandoned by deity. And then again, you're in. That's dangerous when you say we need to come and stop it. There is no God. We need to do it. We need to overthrow the top 40%. We need to take over a block. We need to take over a state house, a city hall. We need to bum rush the Congress or the White House. And if you think these things can happen, just remember this. After January 6th, they did an investigation. They found that some of these people were National Guardsmen. They found that some people in the FBI sympathized with militia groups. So when it came time to really move and do a proper investigation, it was like, the people in the Justice Department was like, we don't know who we can trust or not trust. Again, it exposed a lot of things like, oh man, we knew local law enforcement was involved. That's been since all our lives. Jim Crow years, all our lives. We knew these people. But we got FBI agents in this mix in militia. We got soldiers with rank. We knew that kind of too. We got all kinds of law enforcement at every level. We got National Guard. We got soldiers. So when we call on these people to come and squash a thing, we don't know if who we're calling on will join them or not. And that's why when you hear in politics, you keep hearing them say, why, we need to understand the Trump voters. We need to understand the Trump voters. And you say, well, why? Why we got to keep understanding these guys who just do what they want and run around with guns and so hateful and so violent? It's because, again, it's a lot of them with a lot of power. It's a lot of them inside institutions. And if you listen to those people, they feel like they have been abandoned. Whether it's right or wrong, they feel it. The country has turned its back on them. They don't get all the perks they used to get. And so, again, don't abandon us. All right. If you want to support me, you can give directly. You can become a sponsor. And I'm really going to start doing these things in the daytime so there's more light, so that it looks better. I have some things to put in the background, but, I don't know. Maybe I'll get some software where I can put the background around me. I was going to do live ones, but I don't know if I want to do live ones. Nobody ever shows up, but I may do some live. We'll see. Become a sponsor, give directly, or click a link to one of my platforms. You might find something that you like. I have a lot of things that I sell. Art, scripts. I'm going to talk about some of my scripts, I think, in some of these videos. And maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe that's what I'll do. because I don't know if these educational things, I don't know if they go, if anybody really cares. But maybe that's what I'll do Thursday. And until Thursday, please, it's getting really rough out there. People are on edge. So I want you to take care of yourselves, and I want you to please be safe.